I can still picture her face, that smug, calculated smile, and the way her perfectly manicured nails drummed against the glossy oak table, as if she was already tallying the money in her head. When the lawyer began reading the will, she didn't even glance my way. She didn't have to. In her mind, the victory was already hers. 5 months earlier, when Dad married Vanessa, I tried to convince myself her feelings were real. She was young, stunning, and knew how to laugh at his stories. Dad was brilliant but hollowed out by loneliness after Mom died. I hoped she might help him heal. She called me kiddo, gave me a watch when I graduated, cooked lasagna on Sundays, even though she despised the kitchen. I let my guard down. I shouldn't have. The warning signs came quietly. She'd forget to mention family dinners. Changed the locks while I was at work. Dad started parroting her little digs about how I still hadn't found my path. Then one night, I overheard her on the phone. She didn't lower her voice. She didn't need to. Once he's gone, it's all mine. The kid won't get a cent. That's how we planned it. I stood frozen in the hallway, pressing my palms so hard into the wall my fingers ached. She saw me, locked eyes, and slowly ended the call. Her mouth curled into a smile. Don't look so surprised, kiddo. That's just how the world works. I didn't shout, didn't argue. I just smiled back. And that's when the plan started to take shape. Vanessa assumed Dad's will was unchangeable. She had no idea Dad trusted me far more than he ever trusted her. What she also didn't know was that for months, before his health worsened, I had been helping him quietly reorganize his estate. When the doctor finally said the word terminal, Dad called me into his study. You'll be fine. She's not as clever as she thinks. He handed me the number of Robert, his closest friend and attorney of 30 years. Together, we rewrote the will. Not to cut Vanessa out entirely, Dad wasn't cruel, but to make sure she couldn't touch the majority of his assets without my approval. The heart of it was a single clause, buried deep, meaningless to her until it became everything. When Dad passed, Vanessa didn't shed a tear. She wore black, but she smiled through the entire funeral. Within days, she was talking to real estate agents about selling his properties. She even cornered me in the kitchen. Don't bother showing up for the will reading. You're not in it. I looked her dead in the eye. I'll be there. She laughed like I just told a joke. The will reading smelled of leather and old parchment. Robert sat at the head of the table, glasses balanced low. Vanessa lounged to his right, wrapped in black silk like a queen awaiting her coronation. The beginning was standard, small donations to charities, gifts for loyal staff. Then Robert spoke my name. Vanessa's smile twitched. And to my son, I leave full controlling interest in the Winston Holdings Trust, including all associated accounts, assets, and properties, with the exception of... He paused, adjusted his glasses. The residence at 4 Park Lane, and a living stipend of $100,000 a year, which I leave to my wife, Vanessa. Her head snapped toward him. That's it. Robert's mouth lifted slightly. Per the clause in paragraph 14, any sale, lease, or transfer of trust assets requires the sole consent of your stepson. Without his written approval, you cannot liquidate or encumber any property in the trust. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She turned to me, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. You planned this. I leaned back, steady as stone. No, Vanessa. Dad did. I just made sure it held. She pretended it didn't matter, but I saw the cracks. Over the next months, she wilted. When her credit cards were declined because the accounts were in the trust, when realtors stopped calling after learning she had nothing to sell. The best part? I let her keep the house. Let her feel secure. And when she tried renting out the guest wing for extra cash without my consent, I invoked the clause. Sold the property legally, without her say. She got her $100,000 a year. Enough to live, not enough to live the life she thought she'd stolen. The last time I saw her, she was outside the Park Lane gates, suitcase at her side. She didn't meet my gaze as I passed. I paused briefly. Guess you were wrong, kiddo, I said. Her jaw tightened. I kept walking. Revenge, I've learned, isn't about fury. It's about patience, knowing when to speak and when to stay silent until the ground beneath your enemy crumbles. Dad always said, a sharp mind cuts deeper than a sharp blade.